Hi.
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right, my friends, once again, it's time to get our talk on. It's Morning Talk with me, your host, J.C. McCauley, along with the champions of talk. This morning's talk champion in the house, Jonathan Small. Morning there, Jonathan. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, Stan, as usual. It's good to be back here again every week. Always look forward to it. Pretty much had a roller coaster weekend, up and down. Tied up pretty much yesterday. Might have been a good thing because I didn't have to really dwell on a ugly loss by the Cowboys.
Oh, gee whiz.
Kept me busy,
Wow.
so that was kind of a blessing in the sky, you know. If I live to be I just can't figure that game out. I mean, you're in control of the game, up by 14 points, maybe 17 points, something like that. I mean, I give the Jackson Jaguars a lot of credit. They played a tough game. They stuck in the game. But there was no excuse to losing that particular football game. And to make matters even worse, the Eagles were struggling, and they found a way to win. So I know we're jumping right into NFL. I mean, I don't know what did you do over the weekend before we just
No.
But that game, I mean,
Commiserate.
well, I mean, I'm trying to figure it out. I mean, the game is in overtime. Dak Prescott throws the ball low for a reason because he doesn't want the ball to be intercepted. Noah Brown drops the ball. That's one thing. But then somehow the ball goes to get intercepted and they run it back for a touchdown. So you can't ask for, I mean, if he just would have dropped the ball, that's one thing. Fourth down, you punt the ball, but let the ball go off of your hands and the defender intercepts the ball and they run it for a touchdown. That's just an explanation point on an ugly game.
Well, these things happen, Jonathan. It's only ugly because your team didn't win. If had your team won, it wouldn't have been ugly.
Well, they never should have been in that position. They never should have had the Jaguars come back and put the game in the overtime. So they didn't play really a complete game. That's really the bottom line. You got to know how to finish off a team. And the Eagles just have that type of mentality. They have had a couple tough games this season, and they found a way to win, with the exception of one loss.
Right, so they're 13-1?
13-1.
Which would make them the better team.
They is the better team. I have to be honest, I think there may be a little question about San Francisco could be the next best team. They're finding a way to win, the 49ers. But, to be honest, Dan, it's still I think it's 3 more games left. Let's just wait until the end of the season.
Right, we can wait to the end of the season and see. Maybe Philly will lose the next 3 games.
I'm not even thinking like that. I'm thinking next week, the big showdown. It might have lost some of the luster now that the Cowboys lost. I mean, that game was still going to be a big game, a division rematch. But the fact that the Eagles are completely in the driver's seat of winning the division and they look like they're the better team. But, let's just wait to see how the season ends, and anything is still up in the air. You don't win the Super Bowl in December. You have to play out the season.
Right. Unlike the World Cup, you can be you could be a bad team and still win the Super Bowl. They don't. It's not like the last team standing.
Exactly. But I don't follow the World Cup. I know that's a popular sport.
Well, I'm not a big I don't follow the World Cup either, but I'm simply suggesting that the winner of the World Cup won because they kept winning and winning and winning and winning. They eliminate teams, so you kind of like move your way up to the top. Whereas in football, you could be like a wild card to got in with a real bad season and wind up still winning.
That's what I'm looking at now as the next best thing. You know, you're not playing the best in the regular season, but you could still get yourself going with the momentum into the playoffs. And you still got to be on top of your game, though, because it's a one and done situation. You lose and then you're out. But again, I'm looking still forward to the next week's rematch. And there was some other games on, but believe it or not, I missed just about every game yesterday. Yeah, I didn't watch. I watched a little bit of the Giants-Redskins game, but I really wasn't into it. And
yeah, I didn't watch a lot of football yesterday. I don't know what happened, but I watched the Broncos lose.
Yeah, I didn't even hear about that. I
don't mean the Broncos, the Buccaneers.
Well, they've been losing pretty much throughout the season.
Yeah, but they were ahead 14, I think, to 3 or something like that. And it was just, they got devastated.
Well, New England Patriots, they lost the ugly game, too.
Patriots lost, yeah.
You know, I think the guy threw the ball. I guess, you know, you throw the ball trying to let the other team run. I forgot what they call it. You catch, I guess you're trying to score.
Like we're doing like laterals.
Laterals, yeah. And then he throws a lateral to the Raiders, and he goes all the way for a touchdown. I don't know if he didn't see the play or something, but that's ridiculous to lose that way with a lateral. I haven't seen that in a long time, if ever. And that was probably the freak play of the game for all of the NFL games yesterday. But yeah, that's a bad loss for the Patriots. I don't know if Kansas City won or not, because they look like they still could be the top team. I mean, people talking about Cincinnati coming back, Buffalo Bills are still in the hunt as one of the top teams. But don't count Patrick Mahomes, man. That guy finds a way to win. I mean, he's only won one Super Bowl, but still, he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and he can definitely find a way to pull off a victory when it's needed. But yeah, you know, I finally got a chance yesterday to check out Pepe's Pizza.
Oh, in New Haven?
In New Haven, I was.
So
down.
you were down in New Haven yesterday?
I was down in New Haven, tied up the whole day.
How was the pizza?
The pizza is delicious, tasty wise, but it's thin. I like the
New York
style. Yeah.
That's how a pizza's supposed to be.
Well, I like the deep crust. I mean, the taste is excellent. It's just not thick like I want a pizza, but still, I can't knock the taste.
Something with a lot of dough.
A dough, yeah. But I don't know if it's better. They say Pepe's has the best pizza in the country. I mean, I don't know if it's still better than New York or Chicago style. I never tasted Chicago style pizza, but I would give Pepe's a A-. If it was a thicker crust, I would probably give it an A+. But because it's thin, but real tasty though, delicious. Expensive, but delicious. You know, $40 for a large pizza.
Well, the demand is there. It's Pepe's.
It is. People
demand, you know, so they can charge. You know, you charge what the market will bear, and you know, a good Pepe's pizza can command $40 large.
Yeah, I got
two large pizzas, $80.
Yeah.
Plus tax, and then by the time you get something to drink with it,
well,
up to $100.
It was real nice of my friend to actually treat me for the pizza, and then I treat the person on my birthday along with my former babysitter, Yvonne. So it was a nice turnaround. I wasn't even expecting to go down to New Haven. It's just something that the person wanted somebody to ride with them, and then it just worked out because the Cowboys game really wasn't even on television, and that kind of freed up a lot of time that I didn't have to worry about missing out on a game. But yeah, Pepe's has a nice taste. It's very tasty. It's better than the one in West Hartford. That Pepe's.
Yeah, that Pepe's is not Well, I shouldn't say it's not good, but we went to the Pepe's in West Hartford, and didn't quite cut the mustard.
No.
Harry's will always be the standard, and sadly, Harry's closed.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of like in pizza no man's land.
Yeah, I can't even tell you where to go offhand in the area.
We go to Harry's BC, which is Harry's Bishop's Corner, which is a different Harry's than the Harry's used to be in West Hartford Center.
Mm-hmm.
They have there's some sort of linkage between them and the other Harry's. I don't know the long story, but the pizza's different. It just tastes different. My daughter likes it, and she's the queen of pizza. So we go there. Yeah. But I'm just disappointed. I'm still looking for the perfect pizza place.
Yeah, well, the perfect pizza place to me gotta have the taste and the thickness. I mean, I gotta be realistic, and not say the best price, because you're usually gonna pay for the top quality. So I gotta be realistic on that.
Nothing wrong with that.
But this Chicago style pizza, I don't know if I'm going. I don't think I'm going to Chicago anytime soon.
Now, you've had Chicago style?
I've never had Chicago style.
All right, well then you mean to say that you think that's the best? Because I mean, it's hard to make a declaration if you haven't had it yet.
I want to compare it to New York pizza. New York will tell you they make the best pizza.
New York ain't from Philly.
Ain't from Philly. Well, Philly make the best Philly
cheesesteaks.
Philly cheesesteak.
What they call the hoagie.
The hoagie.
And of course pizza.
But they say the surveys will tell you New York or Chicago.
Well, survey is a survey, depending upon who the participants of the survey are. But I don't know. I like pizza from Philly. Maybe that's why Harry's was so good, because Harry's remind me of Philadelphia.
Oh,
pizza. Just the combination of sauces and stuff. But I did have a cheesesteak. My wife bought me a cheesesteak yesterday from the king of cheesesteak. Now I have to find this guy. There's a food truck, and it was off the chain. I thought I was back in Philadelphia.
Well, I never had a Philly. I drove through Philadelphia. It's been a while, but we didn't really stop. So it seemed like to me to get the type of food like a Philly sandwich, a Philly sub sandwich, you have to be in Philadelphia. You can't get it nowhere else. Is that how
you're talking about a hoagie?
A hoagie sandwich.
You can get it in the greater Philadelphia area. Philly's big. Philly is big on its own, but Philly is Philadelphia's orbit pulls in surrounding towns and counties. So like Bucks County, Montgomery County, Philadelphia, Lancaster, some parts of Delaware, Maryland, although that's not considered Philadelphia, but Camden.
Yeah, that's right outside of Philadelphia.
Across the river. So, any kind of hoagie shop, will have that kind of sandwich style. But Pat's cheesesteak is like, there's Pat's, and then there's one other one. I want to say Frank's, but that's not it. There's two competing for the number one spot in Philadelphia for cheesesteaks, but Pat's is the, I guess, like the Pepe's of New Haven.
Okay.
It's been a long time since I've had a cheesesteak from like Center City, Philly. Long time. Many years. So.
Well, it's hard, to find, and we do have a guest for the second half of the show, because usually we would be starting off with the guest. So this gives us a lot of flexibility for the first hour. Whatever type of food that you like, if you're into hoagie sandwiches, you're into pizza, you're into Chinese, somebody would say Chinese food, New York.
Thank you, Brother Chris. Geno's, yes.
Geno's, right.
Geno's. But,
we can always talk about food, but it was a couple of substance topics I would like to get into that we have the first hour.
So what's on your mind, Jonathan?
Well, the media outlet. I mean, the directions of the future for media. It's labeled a top mechanisms, to function towards your economy. And I just have to wonder, I mean, the whole purpose is, like you've always mentioned, you need a voice, you need an outlet, you need to be able to get your message across. And urban media, I guess, is strong in certain segments throughout the country. But how would you kind of view urban media in Connecticut, New England? Is it a strong foothold in this area?
No, there is no urban media for all practical purposes.
Well, AccessTV.org network, isn't this part of urban media?
Well, I mean, we are here. We provide a voice for those people, particularly in the greater Hartford area with a focus on Hartford. So that at least there is a vehicle. Think of it like I'm trying to find a good analogy. It's a utility. It's a utility. If you need it, it's here.
Okay.
But it's not used a whole lot. And if it was used every day, it serves a purpose. I'll leave it at that. But it's not. I would like to think of it as urban media, but the fact of the matter is, it makes a minor impact.
So you need a format. Would you say something like TIC?
It wouldn't matter. There aren't enough ears. It's not the format or it's not the format. It's the number of people that are out there to consume it. Hartford's population of black people, Spanish-speaking people, is very, within the urban setting, is low compared to the overall number of people in the state. In the places that you'll find urban media does well, a large majority of the population is brown skin, and the media serves them. There's a large number. Here, there isn't enough of an audience to command dollars to keep the doors open if this is something you're doing for a living.
Okay.
It's very, very, very difficult. So the closest thing we have to a consistent urban media would be like the Inquiring News with Reggie Hales. To a degree, the North End Agent. I don't mean that in a disparaging way, but the North End Agent, maybe WKND. And they, KND was once upon a time, in a time past, was much more of a powerhouse than it is now. Right. You have smaller outlets. You have like the West Indian American newspaper. There are several smaller newspapers that impact local groups, and they may get their information and news from those entities, but those entities don't push into the broader audience.
So it would like to be then, if there's not a high demand in Connecticut for urban media, then what about a collaboration just with media in general, instead of just trying to focus on targeting an urban media outlet? Collaborate, because it's tough to get your type of urban media format collaborated with a WTIC radio. They may not see it as
there's no need to collaborate. This is not done out of largesse or charitable work. It's a business.
It's a business,
right? Very few businesses collaborate with competing interests.
Okay.
In fact, I was looking at a tweet this morning from Fox 61 that was saying that Twitter no longer is allowing links to competitors like Facebook. There's no reason for Twitter to allow you to share their content on Facebook. It's counterproductive. In a hard media, why would I send my customers or my viewers off site to somewhere else? And why would I let the somewhere else leverage the asset that I have for their benefit. Why should I help them, create or promote content?
And then
not in a business.
Right. So again, if you're looking at targeting Radio 1 with Kathy Hughes,
where's Kathy Hughes?
She's in Maryland. I believe Silver Springs, Maryland. That's right outside of Washington, D.C.
So where's Radio 1's biggest audience?
Well, the headquarters is technically in the Maryland, Washington, D. metro. They have radio outlets throughout the country. They have outlets in Dallas, Charlotte, Atlanta, Philadelphia, some of your major media markets.
Aren't they in Chicago too?
I would believe so. I don't have every info, but I would assume they would.
But they're not here in Hartford. And they're not gonna be in Hartford because there's no market here for them. That's my broader point is that where they are, they have ears and eyes to view their content enough to keep them in business. So this is not Dallas.
Well, the thing is, they say Hartford, New Haven is I think it's the 30th largest media market. It's in the 30s. It's not. I don't know if that's a high number or.
And in order to get that number, you have to combine Hartford, New Haven. So Hartford, New Haven, Philadelphia is a media market. New York is a media market.
Right. Dallas is a media market.
Right. Not Newark. Newark. Though Newark and New York are right next to each other.
Next to each other, yes.
And are in fact probably that market, but they don't call it New York market. They call it the New York market. So, Connecticut in total, the population is close to the city of Philadelphia. So you have in the listening area, like I can't watch Channel 8 here at the house with the antenna, cable. If without cable, I can't see Channel 8.
Yeah, it used to be a time you could pick it up. It wouldn't come in clear,
right?
But in the old days, you could actually pick up New Haven, but it was never a clear format.
Right, because it's the terrain and the distance.
But the strange thing is,
and the strength of the signal.
Yeah, but see, that's strange because my family used to live up in Amherst, Mass, and they could pick up Channel 3, and I think 50.
But Channel 3 is different. Channel 3 is here. The antenna is here.
It's here.
And I don't know what the wattage is,
But they could always pick up Channel 3 up in Amherst.
Well, Channel 3 has a strong signal. Without getting into all the technical yada bada bing.
Oh,
but to your point, if you have ears, let me bring that down. If you have ears and eyes, that's what makes up your market. And in this area, the number of black, brown people does not push into the region where you can be profitable doing this in terms of disseminating information. Now, some would say, well, the broader major media should cover it. Well, maybe they should, but they don't.
They don't.
They don't have to. And there's nothing that compels or pushes them. Now, there's something that compels and pushes them to do Spanish-speaking news. And so most of the Spanish outlets, particularly with television, are owned by the broader media market. So, you have a much broader population in Connecticut that speaks Spanish.
That's true.
And therefore, they want to tap into those dollars. So they delineate and have a whole separate channel that they can say, well, look, this number of the market speaks Spanish. If you want to reach them, you have to buy advertising on our channel. This is a sales pitch. I mean, it's the television and radio are pitchmen. They pitch product, and the product is pitched in between the content that's offered. That's why ratings are so important. If I can't bring eyes and ears to my content, then I can't sell anything, because no one wants to put their commercials on a platform that very few people watch. So as you've always heard me say, or any of my quote unquote, students, would be, there's really two reasons for broadcasting: message or money.
Right.
Rarely can you combine both with integrity and honesty. So, a lot of times the news isn't really the news because the news doesn't want to offend the person that's paying for the commercials. So if you're Pratt and Whitney, and you're buying time, well, we won't use Pratt and Whitney. If your airplanes have General Electric engines and a plane crashed because of engine failure, then you're not going to point out that there were GE engines that failed, because GE is a major contributor to your bottom line, or the network is owned by GE. So there's conflicting interests, because of course the main reason for being there is money and promoting things. That's what they do. And if you are truly promoting someone in a negative light, it will be not in your best interest as an outlet.
But let me get back to what you were saying about you don't think it's enough black and brown people to make urban media a major business outlet in Connecticut. Isn't 93.7 like an urban radio station that targets urban music, and they seem to be in business to make a profit? So what's the difference between that?
Well, urban radio is a genre. Let the numbers drop and they'll switch to country.
But the numbers seem to be stabilized for a period
because
of time.
Hip hop is a popular, the urban radio sound is a popular sound. How much of the commercials there are directed toward black business? And how many urban radio stations are there that play that style of music? So like now, what is it? Hot 95? I'm not Hot 95. 105. What is it? The new station?
It's not the same as 93.7 that they have one on FM. It's two different radio formats.
Right. There's a new format that plays kind of oldies. Steve, the comedian.
Not Steve Harvey, though.
Yes. Is it Steve Harvey?
Steve Harvey, yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking of another radio host from old. Was a Harvey. Yeah, Steve Harvey is on that station in the morning. Is it 95.7? Or 105?
I think it's 105.
105, yeah. Hot 90. But there's a niche there of people kind of like my age-ish that remember certain radio sound, and it's a hot format. And they're doing pretty well from what I understand. I don't know their numbers or anything like that, but I listen to it when I'm driving. It's punched in on my radio dial.
Yeah.
But that's not, of all the stations on the radio, how many are dedicated to that? So the market is very, very narrow. And as long as there's money to be made in the market, people go for it. But to your overall point, urban media requires numbers, people willing to pay and support the content. Otherwise, you can't stay in business.
Okay.
Right.
So there's no need of really trying to market a urban media format. There's no need of trying to establish a new business model to try to develop urban media in Connecticut, because we just don't have the numbers.
The numbers aren't there to support it, Jonathan. Otherwise, everyone and their mother's uncle would be breaking their necks to get here and do it.
Okay.
There's just no. There's not a profitable market. Let's put it that way. There's a market, but it's not profitable.
Well, I just want to get all of this clarified. I want to get everything out in the open. Very rarely do we have enough time to really go into this, and I just thought it was an interesting.
It is interesting. If information is if information was the driving factor. Real news, real information that was going to help people understand what's going on in their community and how those things are affecting their lives. If that was the driving factor, then because those people aren't getting information, we have to do everything we can to get them information. Then things would be different. But that is not what happens.
What about the television and film industry and digital media? Do you see Connecticut as a focal point of, because there's always been talk about Hollywood East from the former Governor Jody Rell's administration to bring film studios, television studios.
A lot of that was driven by Jim Amon,
right,
who was the Speaker of the House during those days. The film credits, it's a very competitive industry. A lot of states have film credits. A lot of these decisions are political decisions. Their success or failure is based upon, personalities, conflicts with personalities. People stop things because they're against other people. A lot of the things that are done aren't necessarily done for the greater good. The greater good of the whole benefits from some of the things that happen. But that's not the genesis and what the driving force is. Oftentimes it's how individuals or certain interests benefit as opposed to justice and the American way, or the rightness of a thing is not as much the force behind decisions as it should be. So,
well, here another factor is that Connecticut doesn't have the sound stages. If you're going to have movie studios develop in your state, you have to have sound stages, like the infrastructure.
Yeah,
and that's lacking.
Well, it's lacking because other places have it, and so because there's no one here that sees that as a vision, there's no one to push it forward. The people who produce these things go to where those things are. It's like we were talking about pizza earlier. Should you invest in the world's greatest pizza stand and have it in North Hartford, or are people going to go to Pepe's? You build it, they'll come maybe over time, but how long can you sustain a loss while you wait for the reputation of your pizza to grow to a competitive state like Pepe's? Same thing with movies. People could go anywhere in the world and make a movie. We have technology now where you have digital studios. You can go anywhere and you could go literally almost anywhere and give the feeling with high tech, CGI and all this other stuff to make it seem like you're someplace that you're not. So you don't have to do it in Connecticut. In fact, many people involved in the industry actually live in Connecticut. But they fly out to the West Coast. They go to New York. They go to other places to do their work. They may live here. I think Connecticut would benefit from having that kind of an industry here because there's so many people in the industry here. But because you may want it here, or I may want it here, or even people like Jim Amon may want it, that there's not enough power behind the desire to make it happen when you consider who you're competing with and what they have to offer, because there's a lot more than just putting a sound stage up.
Right. You've
got to have all of the people involved, the delivery systems, the experts. If you can't make it into work, who's going to cover for you? Layer upon layer upon layer. And there are people who are doing things like Joe Young, Steve Merzian, and many, many others. I'm just mentioning a couple that are right, like Hartford area, who are doing things, but they're not. If they want to do something above and beyond, they have to leave here. So Joe Young is often not here with his projects. He's all over the country with his projects because there's not enough of a demand here, and the talent, in terms of technical talent, is not abundant here.
Well, now that you mentioned Joe Young, and one thing, Joe Young at one point was he got promoted to be the president of Maurice Starr record company, or something on that line, one of his business affiliations that Maurice Starr had. And then Maurice Starr, the music producer for New Edition, New Kids on the Blocks.
Music mogul.
He had some serious health problems.
Yes.
And then that put a tremendous change in how the company was operated, that Joe Young had to still take the fall to some degree, because I don't want to put his personal business information out totally over the open, but the point is, you get hired as a producer, as a president of a record entertainment company. You think everything is going tremendously now. I'm the top dog, and then all of a sudden an issue happens with a health problem that Maurice Starr has, and he has to still continue keeping the music band that they had going all over the country. It looks glamorous, but you got to really be on top of your A game. Anything can happen in the entertainment industry. It is a profitable business industry to get into. But anything like you mentioned many times, Back Nine Network never really got going. They thought a Golf Channel network was going to be something to compete against the Golf Channel, I believe.
Well, entertainment is like any other business. It's just more glamorous.
Glamorous, right.
But, entertainment is, it's a business. Mm-hmm. It's show business. It's business, and, the business is... Show just happens to be the business.
All right.
It's no different than opening a restaurant or a machine shop. Mm-hmm. You have to have a demand that drives the product. Mm-hmm. And there are pitfalls. There are risks. And just because you open up what others may think is a glamorous business does not necessarily mean that there is a guaranteed payout. Mm-hmm. And some businesses fail, some businesses succeed, and some transitions work better than others. Look at M&T Bank, the debacle there with the accounts and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So you do the best you can. You have plans, and you step out and you give it a shot. Mm-hmm. The people who take these risks, it means a whole lot more to them than the people who may be beneficiaries of them setting up a successful business so I can get a job there.
Yeah.
That they're not setting up the business so that other people can get the job necessarily. There are a lot of things that drive people to move into that direction.
But one thing, Tyler Perry do feel proud that he's been able to hire a lot of black people in his industry.
He should.
He should feel, and he's done it, though, not just something that he would like to see. I don't know.
Yeah, but Tyler Perry's story is a unique story, and it's easy to point to successful folks who've been doing this for 20, 30 years now. Raytheon feels good now that they've got, Raytheon's a huge corporation, or Jeff Bezos and Amazon, or Elon Musk. People point to success, as they should, but they oftentimes don't know or leave out what it took for the people to get there. Mm-hmm. And their arrival is very rarely an easy one.
Right. You're right. Very rarely.
It took a lot. They went through a lot. They suffered a lot. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of things that happen outside the purview of individuals. Mm-hmm.
Well, would you view yourself as in the entertainment industry or the journalism? How would you view AccessTV.org, a network? Is that like this
is my wife and I's effort to make an opportunity for people to have a voice.
Okay.
We're free speech advocates, so we do this, and we absorb whatever the cost of that is. Mm-hmm. We don't produce content for numbers' sake. Mm-hmm. Ratings don't mean anything to us. So if the person who really wanted us to do a thing enjoys it, then we're happy. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't have to have 50,000 views, 100,000 views. We make, as we say, television for the one, which is you, the viewer. Mm-hmm. And we're more message oriented. And that's why you can't do this ad nauseum on the big scene because you're not going to make any money.
Right.
It costs you money.
It costs money. Yeah.
Most people do undertakings because they're going to make money. Most certainly don't want to lose money.
Mm-hmm.
So we're, as far as we're concerned, we're content. You know, success is in the eye of the beholder. But we're quite content in doing what we do. I mean, I get up every morning and do this. It doesn't make any money, to say the least. Let's take a break. I think we're going to have a special guest joining up with us.
Okay.
So we'll take a short break, and we'll return with our special guest. How's that sound?
That's good. Is he on? Did he log in?
He's here.
He's here? Okay.
Right. He got to turn his mic on, though. I don't see a mic. I'm waiting for his mic to fire. All right. Stick and stay. We'll be right back. Jonathan got up and left. I guess he heard the music and thought we were actually in the break. We're not in the break, technically. But we'll be right back. You got to love live broadcasting. It's Morning Talk. Don't go anywhere, my friends. We will return.
Independent thinkers are Puerto Rican, Mexican, Peruvian, Indian, Bosnian, Italian, Irish, Jamaican, African American, European, straight, gay, Nigerian, transgender, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, short, tall, skinny, rich, poor, happy, sad. Some of us hold a PhD and others a GED. And though we may be Democrats, Republicans, or members of the Working Families Party, we all have escaped the plantation of party politics and become independent thinkers because we as individuals are more than a party. You see, independent thinkers come from all walks of life. And the one thing we all have in common is that we love, live, laugh, and learn in the city of Hartford. We are the constituents, and the government of Hartford belongs to us. My name is J. Stan McCauley. I'm an independent thinker, and I approve this message because it's time to stop towing the party line and vote for a candidate you can trust. You too can escape the plantation of party politics if you have the courage to free your political mind.
Hi, so my name is Nelky Maldonado. My name is Ramon L. Arroyo.
And we know that Hartford Parent University provides good services and resources to parents in our communities, which are greatly needed because a lot of times our parents, they don't know where to go, how to get information, and being part of this program is essential to them in being successful in their children's education.
And I think that parents should get involved in their kids' education because it's very important. Education is, I always believe, is a success in life. If you got a good education, you can be very successful.
So we encourage our parents to please come join the program, ask lots of questions, and I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed.
Hi,
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right, my friends, welcome back. It's Morning Talk. I'm your host, J.C. McCauley, along with the champions of talk. And so let's jump back into the conversation. Jonathan Small is our talk champion
Okay.
today.
Yes. So we have the guests all lined up in queue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, this morning on Morning Talk Live with J. Stam McCauley Talk Show, we have entertainer, musician, business person who brings a lot of information towards his career path. And he actually comes from a famous family. His mother and father is in the entertainment industry as well. The guest this morning on Morning Talk Live with J. Stam McCauley Talk Show is no other than musician, entrepreneur, David McKeith. Good morning, David. How are you doing?
Derek, thank you.
Oh, Derek. That's right, Derek. What I'm saying. Okay, thank you for clarifying.
It's okay. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine, Derek. And you?
Very well, thank you.
Okay. Derek, could you kind of let people know a little bit about yourself and background before we get into our topics of discussion?
Sure. My name is Derek McKeith. I'm an entrepreneur, musician as well, singer-songwriter, music producer. Grew up as a child actor and then switched over into music later on in the years. And pretty much my whole entire life has been immersed, obviously, in the entertainment industry due to my parents and family. But yeah, I do a lot of other things as well.
You were born in New York City, I believe?
Yes, I was born in New York, then moved out to Los Angeles at an early age.
Mm-hmm. Your mother is the famous actress Sheila Frazier.
That is correct. Sheila Frazier is my mother. And then my father as well, Sam McKeith. Mm-hmm. He was a well-known music agent.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've had the privilege of having both Sheila Frazier, your mother, and Sam McKeith as a guest. And it's a pleasure to have you on this morning as a guest as well.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Derek. What did you kind of learn growing up in a household of a mother who's a famous actress and a father who's a famous business agent in the music industry?
That's an interesting question. I would say I learned a lot of independence, a lot of independence in the sense of you kind of got to get out there and kind of do things and shake things up on your own and can't just be so reliable on the fact that your parents have kind of already trailblazed their own path, but you yourself to be seen as I don't want to say valid or credible or anything like that, but to be seen as an individual who can stand on their own merit, I had to cut out my own lane as well and kind of do my own thing, and not just, I think the notion is that most people who have, most children who have parents who are in the entertainment industry, I think the notion always is that we have it easy and that everything is just given to us and it's not, nothing really that we have to work for. And it's usually completely the opposite, like tenfold the opposite. You know what I mean? Yes, you have we like to say a head start, you know what I mean? But at the same time, like, if you don't run your race, then you don't cross the finish line. So, I mean, you still have to work. So that level of independence and tenacity of getting out there and really hustling, getting out there to, you know, show the world what you're made of.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you want to become a musician in the beginning stages, or did that just happen over the course of life?
You know, I've always loved music. When I was a kid, I was acting more so than doing music, and I jumped on the drum set like around like 8-10 years old, you know what I mean, just playing around, but I was pretty natural at it, and I still play. Mm-hmm. And then from there on, oddly enough, one of my mom's neighbors at the time was moving, and she couldn't take her piano, and so she said, you know, you think your son might want this piano? I said, sure. You know, and I was around 12, so then I jumped on the piano around 12. So I was kind of just, you know, moving around, and before I knew, I kind of just said, you know, I think I want to stick with music more so than acting. It's not that I didn't like acting, but I just felt like acting, especially at that time and at that age, was a real blow to your ego sometimes, you know what I mean? Especially at a young age. It's kind of hard to hear, like, oh, you're not what we're looking for. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And this is at a time when I would say, casting directors were a little bit more aggressive in their responses and their approach to how they went and did things. They would just bluntly tell you, no, that kind of thing, or you're not what we want, or you didn't, you know, so on and so on. So I think with music, I was able to just kind of find my own comfort zone and find my own lane. Mm-hmm. And that's why stuck with music.
Derek, what did you meet any famous other entertainers living out in Los Angeles and, you know, interacting with your mother? Just give us a list of some of the famous people or some of the people in the entertainment industry and business levels that you have met over your course of your life. I mean, growing up, first of all, as a child. I got to be honest with you.
I don't think there's a black entertainer in Hollywood who I've not met at least once. Mm-hmm. And that's being honest to God. Like, I mean, everything from spending time at the Jackson's house as a kid to Richard Pryor's house all the time on the weekends, even the Cosbys and stuff like that. All these people. I remember going to church with Oprah Winfrey once as a fluke, and that just happened because my uncle was responsible. My uncle was a casting director for The Color Purple, and so very close to Oprah, you know what I mean? And so he had invited her out to church, and we all wound up going all together. I remember that as a child as well, or as a young teen, I should say, because she still had her Oprah Winfrey show. I remember same house too, same uncle, whatnot, having Denzel come over for Thanksgiving, stuff like that, you know what I mean? And that's not normal, but I think kind of when you grow up around celebrities, you don't look at them like they're celebrities. They just become people to you. You know what I mean? These are people who wake up every day doing the same things that you do. They still wake up, brush their teeth, shower, go use a bathroom, things of that nature. So I don't think I've ever really looked at a celebrity and felt like, oh, wow, you know what I mean? They're famous, they're a celebrity. I don't think I've ever, honest to God, really looked at people who are celebrities like that. I've just kind of more so seen their humanistic side always. And I think that was just because of the relationships that my parents already had with these people. So they were able to relax and not front or try to be on, as we like to say, in the entertainment industry.
Let me ask you one question. Excuse me. Go ahead.
I swear I've come like too many people. Way too many people. I actually wrote a list down once of how many people I've ran into or, you know what I mean, come across via either my parents or just myself as my own entertainer.
Well, tell me something, Derek. What was it like to see your mother on television and film? I mean, when you was going to school, did some of the children kind of interact with you? I mean, what was it like, you know, knowing that your mother is on television making movies. Your father is kind of somewhat behind the scenes, but he's still in the music industry. Did you have
It was awesome.
It was awesome. Okay.
Honestly, it was kind of awesome for me. Like at the time I was living here in Los Angeles. That's where I'm currently at right now. So we were in Los Angeles, and I was going to private school, and I might have been like 1 out of 3 black kids in the whole entire school. So to know and see that your mom is on TV, she's doing her thing, and then all your friends are watching her on TV, and they come back the next day like, man, we saw your mom on TV. She was on Magnum PI, or she was on Starsky and Hutch, or whatever, you know, she was on at that time. You know what I mean? It always kind of felt good to kind of like, especially being one of the only black kids in the school, to kind of have them coming back and almost checking in with me. Like, what can we do? You know what I mean? Like, how can we be down? That kind of energy. And so, yeah, it kind of normalized my lifestyle inadvertently. It was kind of weird how that would happen, but yeah, it was really cool. And then also my father, like when I would go back to New York in the summers and be with him, like we were always out and about, like in the scene, should we say, like music scene. He had groups that he would work with as well. You know what I mean? So I would go with him to the studios and jump on, you know, the drums and stuff like that. And yeah, it was just a really cool time. Groovy, I like to say. I'm pretty old school with my vernacular still. Somewhat of a hippie with it.
Yeah. Some people say your music style is similar to Lenny Kravitz. Do you see it that way? Any similarities that you have?
Know, people have always kind of done this. So I play piano, drums, bass, guitar. And when you play multiple instruments, and especially if you're black and you pick up a guitar, the first few names that they're going to throw out at you, obviously, is going to be a Hendrix, Prince, or Lenny Kravitz, because those are like 3 notables that people know will pick up an instrument and play guitar. But also my musical tastes are very varied in the sense that I grew up not really believing in genres because I was taught more just about the aesthetics of music, and it's really not about the genre as opposed to just really the feelings, you know what I mean, that they give you and whatnot. And then truthfully, if you switch out instruments here and there, you know what I mean, you basically have like the next genre. So like my musical taste has always been fairly eclectic. And so because of that, I've always gotten comparisons to the Princes, to the Hendrixes, to the Lenny Kravitzes, just because it's not what most people are just used to hearing.
Well, do you intentionally try to have a certain sound, or it just comes out naturally?
No, it's just like I grew up listening to everything. I remember like my father was a huge country music fan, still is, you know what I mean, and rock and roll fan. So I actually grew up like living in the East Bronx and stuff like that. I was listening more so to Led Zeppelin, you know what I mean, while Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh is playing on the radio. I'm listening to everything opposite of that, while still listening to that, you know what I mean? So it was like the best of both worlds, you know what I mean? My father, him being a music agent, a rock and roll music agent, basically putting on Bruce Springsteen, having Stevie Wonder, you know what I mean, acts of that nature, Teddy Pendergrass. These are my natural influences. This is the stuff that I'm hearing all the time, you know what I mean? And again, because he was also on the rock roll side, I'm listening to your Led Zeppelins, the Who's, the Pink Floyds, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and all that kind of stuff. So that became, you know, a strong part of my foundation. But also I'm growing up in the 80s. So then we have the whole synth era, the whole new wave pop thing going on. So if you're including all that gumbo, should we say, you're going to probably get an eclectic sound. You know what I mean? You're going to get a limitless sound, should we say.
Do you do anything beyond just musician work? Like a producer? Do you produce any of your records and your music?
Absolutely. Everything that I've ever been on, for the most part, I wrote and produced it myself. There's probably been only maybe 2 or 3 songs that are publicly out that I did not write, but I performed. And those are usually probably for like soundtrack works and stuff like that.
That kind of reminds me something of Prince, that Prince would write, arrange, produce just about every particular record that he has ever made.
That's the comparisons.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
And Kravitz does the same thing though too. Like most people don't realize he plays all of his stuff as well. So we all do the same thing. So I would say I'm in with good company, you know?
Definitely unique skill. Stan, I want to bring you into the conversation. Do you have any questions or commentaries you want to bring to Derek McKeith?
No, I'm just listening. I thought one of the things I thought.
Hey, I dig your glasses.
Thank you. Old school.
Old school, right.
Yeah. The what he was saying about celebrities being people, I think it's so important for people to understand that celebrities are celebrities because they're in the public eye and you may see them more often, but they're people,
right?
And they have feelings and likes and dislikes, and they're human. And I think a lot of times people think that celebrities are, they're bulletproof, they're insult proof. They don't have a right to private lives. And it's like it's hard, I think, for people to understand. But I think that was one thing I thought that for me was important that he brought out.
Definitely. Derek, is most of your work in music, or have you ever been branched out into any television appearances, any film appearances, or everything that you've done?
Yeah, I did a lot of commercials as a child. I was frequented as a guest all the time on the TV show Amen when I was a child and stuff like that. I was a busy kid, really busy, It wasn't just, like I said before, it wasn't just music. It was acting first. That was, my main start. Acting, lots of commercials, Oh, and I was continuously, I should say, there's a fun tidbit. I was asked 6 times to be the ring bearer in a few people's weddings. One of them was out here, we have a sportscaster named Jim Hill. He's a pretty well-known sportscaster as well. And I was his ring bearer in his wedding. I was like, 6 weddings. I was a ring bearer. So that was my other specialty. Right.
Well, you bring a lot of versatility to not just music, but to entertainment as well. And you've definitely been connected to some many different famous people. But let me ask you a question. You said you've met pretty much all of the Jacksons. What was it like when you had to meet and interact with Michael Jackson, particularly at the time when he was really famously on top of his game with Thriller and the Bad album? Did you see him during that period of time?
I saw him, but I wouldn't say like it was any major interaction, should we say. It was more so they had a house out here in Encino, and on the weekends and stuff like that, they'd open up the pool for family friends and stuff like that. So when they were around, they were around. When they weren't though. You know what I mean? But to have access to the family because, your parents were friends with them. My aunt was close with them as well. Those kinds of things, like these things. Yeah. I mean, again, when you're around these people, it's not really a big deal to you per se. It's more so to others. You know what I mean? For you, this is just kind of like, I don't want to say routine because that kind of like takes away from it a little bit, but it is more so just kind of like, oh, this is what we're doing. It's like, okay, cool. It's really not a big deal, but it's a big deal to others. So when he was around, but he wasn't really seen as much, I would say. Like I've probably met him once, you know what I mean? But I've met the other brothers on multiple different occasions, Not too long ago, I was at their house, well, the mom's house in Calabasas, Miss Catherine. And I sat down and spoke with her as well. So,
What about Janet Jackson?
I've never met Janet. Actually, no, that's not true. That is not true. I met Janet once, but I was really young. Really young. Janet and LaToya and Miss Catherine used to come to my aunt Judy and my uncle Eddie, my father's brother's house, quite often. My aunt is Stephanie Mills. And Stephanie's sister was married to my father's brother. So you can kind of see how this is all just continuously intertwining.
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize your aunt was Stephanie Mills, though. I mean, not a shock, but that's a surprise. That kind of caught me off guard. I know you said you had an aunt in the business, but Stephanie Mills was a real popular, somewhat of a unique singer. Do you remember Stephanie Mills, Stan?
She still is. She's out here cooking.
She's out here cooking. Okay. Definitely had a unique sound and style to her. And definitely. Did you get a chance to travel, like going on tour when you was in the entertainment business?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, my music career as a profession, I started off as a background singer. Mm-hmm. And so the first project I was on was the Quincy Jones album, Back on the Block. Mm-hmm. And I was singing background behind Tevin Campbell on the song Tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And, I hope tomorrow will bring better you, that song back in the day. And from there, I wound up singing behind multiple artists, which had me traveling locally more so. And it wasn't until I went off and did my own thing as a solo artist where I started traveling the world. Mm-hmm.
And what was that like, going all over the world as an entertainer on traveling?
It's fascinating because, it's a funny energy, because if you've been around celebrities kind of like your entire life, you look at what they do and you're just kind of like, oh yeah, that's cool. It's funny though when you're kind of thrown into that celebrity-ish like situation, and then all of a sudden the attention now is put on you. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of get a little bit of a taste of what they feel and what they go through. And so because my style of music is a little different, I found more success overseas and in other areas. And I was actually kind of taken aback who had actually heard of me already. You know what I mean? So when I would go to these places, I would have certain levels of protection, is what we like to say. You know what I mean? You're being escorted around the city. You're just kind of like going almost along for the ride. You have people who are really catering to you, you know what I mean? And really almost doing everything for you. Mm-hmm. It's kind of strange, especially when you're so used to doing things yourself. But those are some little experiences on the road. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I can say that's really fascinating to me about being on the road, is just that, the attention that's put onto you.
Derek,
then just having a good time traveling and meeting people.
Mm-hmm. Derek, what were some of the countries that you have traveled and toured and seen and performed at?
Let's see. UK, Germany, all throughout the Caribbean, all throughout the United States, Honduras, El Salvador, Brazil. Like I said, through the Caribbean, Antigua, Barbados, Grenada. I'm trying to put it all together and go back. There's been a lot of places though.
Is your music sound
Sweden? Sorry.
Okay. Is your music sound and style accepted when you go throughout the world into these different foreign countries?
Oh yeah, definitely. As a matter of fact, it's funny because they're actually taken aback when they see, because most people, when they see me or they see my look, they think I'm gonna do hip hop or something like that. Mm-hmm. Or if it's not gonna be hip hop, it's gonna be something way out, depending on how I'm dressing. And when they catch the act, they all kind of get this look like, that's not what I was expecting. You know what I mean? Because I take them basically almost through the history of music, in the sense that you're going to get some R&B, you're going to get some hip hop, you're going to get some funk, you're going to get some blues, because I play a lot of blues. You're going to get some jazz rhythms, some Latin feels. You're going to get it all with me. And so I've rarely had somebody walk away from a show saying that they didn't have a good time or that they didn't enjoy the presentation. Mm-hmm. Because I kind of try and make sure that I touch on all the angles that are genuinely part of myself.
Mm-hmm. What type of music that you perform in your style do you like the best, or is it all kind of neutrally to you when you're doing your different types of sound of music?
I'm sorry, one more time, repeat that.
What is the type of music sound when what a particular preference do you like to perform as? Like, regular R&B, jazz, hip hop, or you just kind of blend everything together? Is there one particular style, a sound that you are driven by more than others, or you can kind of keep it neutrally?
It's really a blend. I'm really about the energy.
Mm-hmm.
I like it's what I call the push. You know what I mean? So I'm really about the energy of I want to see people moving, almost kind of like in a seance fashion. You know what I mean? They're just taken over just by the energy and by the just the rhythms and all of that. You know what I mean? So like I'll do things that are pretty old school where like I'll do an 8-minute song when the song is really 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But we're just jamming on it. You know what I mean? And then just playing around with the song and whatnot, and kind of taking it back to, even though I wasn't there, like those Woodstock eras, you know, those festivals, those Monterey Pop kind of energies where like you're letting the musicians on the stage do what it is that they do and make you feel good, you know what I mean? And create certain energy. So like for me, whether that starts off with rock, funk, or if we're just grooving on, you know, one of those classic like R&B baseline type things, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whatever it is that I'm reading from the crowd, that's what we're going to lock in on. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Whatever I see the most hand clapping or the most head bobbing, that's what I'm going to lock in on.
Mm-hmm. Stan, let me bring you back into this. I know singer Sade is one of your favorite singers. You've mentioned her a few times. I've kind of mentioned it a few times that, you know, that's one of your favorite singers.
I love Sade.
You do love Sade. Yeah, she has somewhat of a unique sound and style.
Yeah, she's cool.
Yes.
Yes, that's the answer to the question.
No. She's cool. I mean,
cool.
She's the personification of. That's an interesting comment. In that she's cool. I think she's the personification of cool, which to me usually cool is reserved for men.
Right.
Guys are cool. Mm-hmm. But no, she's cool.
She's cool.
She's super cool.
She's super.
Like,
yeah, she's like a cat. You know, she's like a cat.
You're going to be hard pressed to find any guy who doesn't dig Sade.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I gotta
be for real. Like I've yet to meet anybody, and there's a lot of people who listen to different stuff, but Sade is cool. Like you can listen to Sade whether you're really into her stuff or not, and just be like, yeah, that's cool though. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing offensive about her music, should we say? You know what I mean? Nothing off-putting.
Well, you know, I got to be honest and upfront. When she came out with Smooth Operator, it took me a while to really like that song, but I love it now. But as a teenager growing up, hearing that song, Smooth Operator, I never heard any type of style or song like that. And I just couldn't get into it. But after a while, getting a little bit older, this is a great classic song. You know?
Oh yeah, it's got that whole African Euro feel to it, and that's really what her sound is. A lot of people don't. It's very Afro Euro, her sound. You know what I mean? She's African and she's from the UK, so it's like her sound encompasses that. You know what I mean? Where it's you got a lot of those rhythms, a lot of congos and stuff like that. Those, you know. A lot of polyrhythms and stuff whatnot, and yeah, she's dope. I love Sade. I listen to Sade quite often.
Yeah. And she's kind of transformed throughout the decades too. It's not like she was just popular and good in the 80s, but she's been able to transform in the 90s and the 2000s as well. I mean,
she matured.
She matured, yes, to do that. But I just know that. And there's some other singers. I mean, Anita Baker has somewhat of a unique style. It took a while for me to really get into
That's
her.
my girl right there. I love Anita.
Yes, she definitely has a good sound that came out. Took me a little while, though. I was still heavy into Janet Jackson, Madonna, but after a while, I started liking Sade, Anita Baker. I guess you just get a little older and more mature and everything. But I mean, again, Derek, I mean, having your parents in the entertainment industry, I mean, that has to be a tremendous blessing. They look like they were very fine, down-to-earth people. Your father, Sam McKeith, actually was in studio when he was on the show, and really, he's a real humble person and a real knowledgeable person. What is some of the traits that you may have that is similar to Sheila Frazier, your mother, or Sam McKeith? Can you let people know anything about them that you've kind of modeled or take up after a little bit?
I'm so much like both of them. It's funny because it's so funny, man, because they're very different, my parents, in a lot of different ways. Like I don't know if I necessarily picked up. I think I blended their qualities to work for me. So like my father's very no nonsense, very straightforward, straight ahead. And he's going to tell you basically what you need to hear, not necessarily always what you want to hear.
Right.
I do that quite often. My mom's very personable, very easy to talk to. And I feel like for the most part, that's me. You know what I mean? Unless, you know, like when there's this thing where like you expect more from your family. So you might not always be as easy on your family, you know, when they bring issues or problems to your family. You want them to succeed, you want them to be better, so you're looking for some certain things from them. But if you were to beat me out on the street, I'm as easygoing as you're getting right now, you know what I mean? And truthfully, this is how I usually am for the most part, unless something's just so off-putting where, you know, something needs to change. So they are very even-keeled people for the most part, and I think I've adopted that aspect.
Definitely. I mean, I picked that up interviewing Sheila. She comes across as a real down-to-earth person. Your father is straightforward, but he is a real person. He tells you, like you say, what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Exactly.
Someone like you, Stan, I mean, you tell it straight out, you know, what you need to hear. We was talking a little bit earlier about the entertainment business and the industry and trying to see how if Connecticut and New England could be a real urban media outlet. And Stan told me the truth. I mean, you didn't really sugarcoat anything. You know, you was honest and upfront about the business and saying that you're in the entertainment business as well. What is the difference between, let's say, Los Angeles, California, where you currently reside at, and New York? Is there a big difference between the two in the entertainment industry?
Oh yeah. I've always said like it's funny because LA is a place kind of like where everybody always tries to come out to. But I've always told people, like, before you come out to LA, make sure you got a New York hustle. Because if you don't have a New York hustle, you'll easily get caught up in the facade of LA. You know what I mean? LA, because you have so many transplants out here, everybody's coming out here with their idea of what they think Hollywood is, what they think celebrityism is, or what they think they should be doing as a performer or entertainer, as an actor, whatnot. And 9 times out of 10, it's going outside of their character, and that's not what's necessary, and that's not what's needed. So I think on the East Coast, you have a more hustle and bustle, down to earth, you know, gritty. It's more of a staple for your art, you know what I mean? And then I think on the West Coast, you're able to embellish on that art, that foundation that you have laid, you know what I mean, from the East Coast. So for me, myself, when I feel myself slowing down creatively, mentally, business-wise, whatnot, I always say I got to go back to East to get charged back up. So that can kind of tell you, you know, a little bit of what the differences are.
And haven't you also spent some time in Atlanta as well?
No, not too much.
Okay.
Not too much. Not in Atlanta. I mean, I've hung out in Atlanta quite often, but no, like, no real work or anything like that.
Derek, I always have a hard time. I like to compare Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and L.A. Reid and Babyface as 2 of the top producers. I mean, there's other great producers, but they seem to me personally to stand out over a course of time as 2 of the best. I know Babyface has kind of done his thing a little bit more solo. How would you rank Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and L.A. Reid and Babyface towards their producing skills?
Some of the GOATs, you know what I mean? Literally, like, this generation doesn't understand catalog. And so what we have is this. I come from the musical generation where you had to develop a catalog. You know what I mean? And it was your catalog that basically told the public basically really how good you were and how nuanced and versed you were in your craft and in your field. They have done musics for every genre. Like I said, I don't believe in the genre thing, but like they've done music for every genre, have had number ones, top tens, you know what I mean, all clear across the board. I mean, they are masters in their fields. And if you're a producer, you should be looking, I don't like to use the term looking up to anybody or looking up to anything, so to speak. But looking to is very different, you know what I mean? And looking towards their paths of success. They are a prime example of, if you're a producer, this is the way you want to walk. You want to be able to do what they do. Effortlessly too. Because when you listen to them tell you how they came up with certain songs, it's almost kind of like they were just tinkering around and then it just happened. You're like, yeah, but that's like one of the hottest songs that y'all ever did. And it was just like a fluke. Flukes happen though like that because you're that good, you're that prepared, you're that, you know what I mean, on, where even on your worst day, on the mistakes that you make, they're good, you know what I mean? So they're just an example of what I think many producers should, look to and aspire to be like in this game, in this field of music.
Well, I give them a lot of credit with impacting, first of all, Ali Reed and Babyface, what they did with Bobby Brown's Don't Be Cruel album, and also what Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis did with Janet Jackson's Control album.
Yeah.
Because I think both of them at the time was like at a crossroads in their careers in life. I mean, Janet was good, but she really didn't take it to the next level until she hooked up with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis with the Control album. Bobby Brown had talent with New Edition. He was still branching out as a solo artist, but the Don't Be Cruel album with Ali Reed and Babyface really put him at a different level.
Absolutely.
And I say that to say sometimes we always look at the artist, the singer, but we sometimes forget the producer, and the writing skills and the behind the scenes work is just as important at times as the in front of the scene. And by you being an artist who does pretty much everything from the writing, the producing, the arrangements, you can definitely understand the appreciation and how important that skill set and component is to putting off or to putting out a very great album and a very great sound simultaneously.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, growing up, one thing that my mother stressed and enforced is me knowing the business of music, because she used to see me sing all the time. She said, yeah, okay, so you sound good, that's great, but singers are a dime a dozen. There's a lot of people who can sing. She said, but the ones who are successful are the ones who know the business. She said, learn the business, then I'll be impressed. And so because of that, and because of a lot of her peers telling me the same exact thing, my dad telling me the same exact thing, all these people who I looked up to, or looked to, should I say, telling me the same kind of thing. Know the business, you know what I mean? Learn the business. That's where every artist messes up. They don't know the business. Learn the business. That was my route then that I took. So I learned the business. And so because I learned the business, I realized all the real money is made in the writing and the producing. It's not in the performance of the song. It's just performers make a lot of money when they go on tour or after they've sold a certain amount of albums. But people don't realize the writers and the producers are making money as well. So while you're on tour, they're making money because you're performing a song that they wrote. That they wrote and produced. So those are fees that they still get paid on too, as well. You know what I mean? So the writer and the producer continuously makes money, and they make the lion's share. So growing up, I realized that, and I said, okay, you know what? One of the best ways to control all this is write your own songs, produce your own music, perform your own music, and essentially you're controlling that. And so I've made my entire career, for the most part, doing so. You know what I mean? Where I used to have record deals thrown at me quite often, and I would turn them down, and they would always give me this perplexed look, like, "Are you crazy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, really, no, I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm probably more sane than you are." Because the fact of the matter is, I know if I own and control all this, whether it blows up or if it doesn't, I have peace of mind knowing that I don't have anybody in my pocket stealing and robbing everything from me blind. You know what I mean? And me having to fight for what's already mine. I don't have to worry about that. It's mine.
Well, Derek, I give you a lot of credit for that, the knowledge base, but it sounds like to me, your father, because I've talked to Sam McKeith a few different times, and every time he keeps telling me something that I haven't known before about life and about the business. It's like, you know, you think you have heard everything from Sam, and then he tells me something else that I need to know that I just was not aware of. So, I mean, it sounds like to me, man, having your father, Sam McKeith, and definitely Sheila Frazier, is two excellent parents. And not just about the entertainment business. I mean, as two excellent parents. And I'm not just saying that because you're in front of the camera. I mean, I don't know them personally. I know your father. I've talked to him a little bit more than Sheila. But just picking up what I've been able to listen to from Sam McKeith and what I've heard from Sheila Frazier, those are excellent parents that you've been blessed to have.
I've been blessed. I cannot lie. My father gave me many books to read, you know what I mean, about the music industry. And that, definitely had me on a different path than most of my contemporaries. They couldn't understand my decision making, honestly. But it was because I was learning the game inside out, you know what I mean? Right. Versus trying to be on the outside coming in. I was already in the game. I just had to learn it.
Now, Derek, you classify yourself as an entrepreneur. I mean, when I asked you what title would you want it to be identified as, you told me an entrepreneur. So I see Black Beans Coffee. Is that part of the business that you are currently involved with?
So I own a coffee company called Bad Beans Coffee.
Oh, Bad Beans.
And this is going into my third year owning the company. Actually, I started this company right before the pandemic really hit. You know what I mean? Actually, I incepted this company, I should say, years before then, but I didn't start putting things into action until the pandemic hit. And since then, it's just been off and running. You know what I mean? We're basically we're like a I don't want to say a gourmet, but we're more like on the boutique end of the coffee roasting side of things, where we specialize in roasting flavors. So we have 13 different coffee flavors that we sell, and everything is roasted fresh to order. So there's nothing that sits on our shelves or anything like that. And so every customer gets a fresh bag experience versus what they're normally probably used to getting when they go to a store or something like that, or even a Starbucks, and there might be something that has been sitting on the shelf for weeks, maybe months at a time already. You know what I mean? So our coffee is super fresh, super tasty, super good, super bad. Bad as in good, not as in bad.
Right. Stan, as we closing down to this segment, you have anything else you wanted to say to Derek McKeith? Any other final commentaries you want to add?
You know, I'll pass along what everybody's saying. Great guess. I mean, it's just it's you know, I love to listen to what your guests have to say, because I always consider it a master class. If people are listening and have a teachable spirit or mind, this is kind of information you can't access.
Right.
So, you know, I thank him for sharing, because it's right on the money.
Derek, first of all, I appreciate you getting up a little earlier on the West Coast time, being a guest this morning on Morning Talk Live with J. Stan McCauley Talk Show. It was a pleasure. You're a real down-to-earth person, very easy to talk to, interview. Is there any last words or anything you would like to say before we end this particular segment of the show?
I would just like to steer people to check us out. As a matter of fact, my coffee company, Bad Beans Coffee, 'tis the season. Now's the time to, stock up while you can. And then even for next year, order through us, subscribe with us, check us out. We've been featured on NBC and a few other, platforms, whatnot. So check us out. badbeanscoffee.com, BAD, beans, BANS, coffee.com. That's really it.
All right. Well,
and you can check me out musically as well. Google, Spotify, all those, Apple Music, I should promote music as much as I do coffee, but coffee is also my other love. So
life is coffee.
Yeah.
Life is coffee.
Life is coffee. Okay.
I will absolutely positively check it out because I'm I'm waiting when I get off the air. That's the first thing I'm going to do is have coffee and pie. So I will definitely be getting me some Bad Beans coffee.
Yeah, I gotta check that out. I'm not really a coffee drinker, but I
didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
Don't come back till you get you a good cup.
Well, we sell gift certificates for other people.
Yeah, I'm a hot chocolate tea person, but I can't.
Oh, don't tell that. Don't say that on the air. What's wrong with you?
But I can try a good coffee. When it's good, I will definitely drink it though. So even though it's not my number one drink, it's definitely something that I would taste if somebody puts out a good product of a coffee. So I wish you the very best of luck with Bad Beans Coffee, your new venture, kind of new, and your success in the music industry beyond whatever that you're planning to do. And again, it was a pleasure to have you on this morning, Derek. And
thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I wish you the very best of luck in the very near future.
You as well, gentlemen. Thank you so much again.
All right. God bless you. And thank you for taking time out of your schedule.
Not a problem.
Okay.
All right, excellent. Great guest. That brings us to the end.
To the end, yeah.
So unfortunately, wow, time flies.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of personally like doing the interviews in the beginning, but I'm getting adjusted now. Every now and then we have a West Coast guest, so we got to kind of talk early in the show and then have the interview segment in the second half. But it still works out fine. Derek was a tremendous asset to have on the network, and it was a good interview segment. I had enjoyed interviewing with him, and do have a guest booked for next week. I think you're going to like next week's show as well.
All right. It's always interesting every Monday here on accesstv.org. Jonathan brings us guests from all over the country and around the world to talk about all kinds of great topics, from economics to entertainment to real estate to government, and they're always great interviews. So tune in, like it, share it with family, friends, and foe. Check out badbeanscoffee.com. Right? Bad Beans Coffee.
Bad Beans Coffee. That's the name of the coffee. .com.
Right. And Google search our guest from today. All right, my friends, our time together has come to an end. Unfortunately, this happens every time we're on the air. Tune in every day and every night at 8 for Morning Talk. And Sunday through Friday, tune in for Light Source Victory Television Live. We will see you next time, and special thanks to our guests from this morning. We'll see you all next time. You'll have a great rest of your day. Bye.
My name is J. Stan McCauley, and I do business as Light Source Productions. I provide professional services in the area of strategic video communications. First, what we do is we help you craft your message using what I call the rule of the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why. We do event documentation, content acquisition, full-scale productions, editing, and of course distribution through our social media television network. And with social media, video is more important now than it has ever been. Whether you're talking big business, small business, nonprofit, church, or just an individual. Let's say you plan you're planning an event, a wedding, whatever the case may be. But let's say a big event, but no video. And you spent all this time, all these hours to put this event on, and maybe 100, 200 people attend the event. But more important than that is that thousands could attend by watching it on social media. But of course, you don't think about this until after the event is over. You can't afford not to capture it for social media. And despite what people think, I am affordable. Give me a call. Let's plan your next video project and share it with the world on my social media television network. I promise you that you will have the attention of one person, me.